The way that I show up on social media, I hate the word authentic, but let's just use it for sake of conversation. I try and show up authentically. I love cursing. I try and show my dogs, like all these little things, but I still feel under the A Creative Co umbrella, under this brand, I'm not showing up as myself. I still show up with my customer service voice, and I'm really trying to turn that around. I'm like, I need more of me in here, and it's driving me insane.
Welcome to the MoreLife Podcast, where creatives, problem solvers, and entrepreneurs talk about squeezing more out and finding meaning in this crazy thing we call life. Let's dive in. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the MoreLife Podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us. Today we have Amber Figlow, who's the owner of A Creative Co. She's a content strategist, a coach, a speaker. She does a lot of different things that I've been learning about as I've been searching her up, and she's here with us today. So, Amber, say hi to everyone for me.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So you have a company called A Creative Co. Tell us a little bit about it. What is the primary part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started A Creative Co. as a Instagram account. It started as this experiment. I've always been in the marketing industry, and I wanted to get out of the 9-to-5 rat race. So I started this Instagram account, and I was like, how fast can I grow in 30 days? And then I would report back to my followers, be like, hey, this is a strategy that worked for me today. This is a strategy that didn't. I would show off my analytics along the way. After the 30 days was over, I grew 500 followers. And again, that might not seem like a lot, but I was starting from scratch, trying out new things. And that eventually just kind of evolved from being a freelancing fun little outlet into a social media agency. And that's what I did for a really long time. I know. Listen, over a couple of different years, I was managing a social media agency, and now I've actually segued into being more of a personal brand over the last year. And A Creative Co., now I just focus on being a content strategist for other small business owners, and I focus more so on strategy, workflows, and ecosystems to make content creation a little bit more efficient, effective, and easy.
Okay, you're speaking my language right away. First things first, I feel like everybody is talking about introducing a personal brand back into there. We spent so long, maybe 5-7 years ago, trying to separate these things, and now they're coming back together. The last maybe 3 or 4 podcasts I've done, everyone I've been talking to is talking about this. We ourselves have been going through this reformation since May of how does the personal aspect come back into the brand as using my presence and my personality. This is something that's really taking the social media landscape, a little bit by storm. I'm sure you're having conversations about this, but what are you seeing that's changing in the landscape of social media right now? Because there's a lot happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's such a great point. And little podcast exclusive, I'm actually going through a rebrand. I'm even dropping A Creative Co. So probably by the time this comes out, I know you guys get a little mic drop. I haven't told anybody else this yet. So I'm assuming by the time this comes out, it'll be nice and fresh. I'm actually getting rid of my company name and just going back to my name, Amber Figlow. And it's going to be a really big transition and a really big process. But I think what we're starting to see on social media, there is this big shift towards personalization. And even those big brands, I'm sure you guys have seen them on TikTok, like Duolingo. We are still associating not only that social media manager, I love her to death, she has her own thing, but we also associate this mascot. There's a personalization to even some of these bigger brands because we are, as a society, so sick of Coca-Cola's, Pepsi's, these big names being buy my product. I am this big corporation. And we're starting to see that trickle down into the small business owners, the influencers, the creators, that it is so important that we are all doing something similar, but the thing that makes you different is you. So I'm having fun transitioning back into just doing my own thing. And secondly, I'm a creative at heart, and I'm sure you guys can, whoever's listening, you guys can kind of feel the same with me. It's my career has evolved over the last 10 years. I know that A Creative Co. might not always follow me in the next phase of my life, next phase of my career, but this personal brand, having my name assigned to something, that's always going to follow me. So that's kind of why I'm making the shift and why I see that kind of in all aspects of social media as well.
And don't you feel like it's more organic, it's going to be a little bit more reward, like more a return on that investment. Like, you're going to have the ability to add a little bit more of your personality to substitute constantly having to farm ideas all the time.
Absolutely. And the thing with it too is it's like, I was actually talking to one of my business pals about this. The way that I show up on social media, I hate the word authentic, but let's just use it for sake of conversation. I try and show up authentically. I love cursing. I try and show my dogs, like all these little things, but I still feel under the A Creative Co umbrella, under this brand, I'm not showing up as myself. I was telling people, I was like, I still show up with my customer service voice, and I'm really trying to turn that around. I'm like, I need more of me in here, and it's driving me insane. So it's like,
you have like your iPad, you're doing your brand photos.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, I'm over here still pretending to be this quote unquote professional person that I think I need to be. And I'm redefining what professional looks like through this personal brand. So I'm having fun with it. I see the world of social media moving more in this way because it's just so much more entertaining. Like, I enjoy genuinely connecting with people that are moving in this way. So it's been a fun little ride. I can't wait to see where it takes me.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're kind of trying to do the same thing. It's harder for me. I think I'm older than you, and social media doesn't come as natural. Yeah. I want all the things. I also have a hard time motivating myself to do the things that are going to get me the thing that I want to do.
Yep.
So it's like, I get it. Really, I totally get it. I'm going to look at this camera for, another 25 minutes. And the joke is, I present well on camera. Yeah. I don't want to be in front of a camera.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. It's very like looming in the back of my mind, because I'm like, there's a lot of, you hear people talking about like, influencer marketing is changing. The social media internal role as like an internal marketing department role is going to be changing. And it's really setting yourself up probably for a big win if you can find a way to be self-sustaining and also mix in your personal brand with it as well. That way you can have clients, you can still have all the liberty and freedom, you can help multiple different companies. Absolutely. And you're not tied into just one campaign or one department doing, your repetitive campaigns 3-4 times a year. That can be very challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's kind of what I've seen, because anytime, the reason for the big shift to the personal brand, everyone's like, what's your 5-10 year plan? And I was like, I have no idea, but I have some big goals. There's some things that I want to do. And I didn't see A Creative Co coming with me. I saw it as like, me, myself, I'm going to evolve. I don't think I want to do social media in the capacity that I'm doing it now. I don't want to do that in 10 years. At that point, I'll be approaching 40 and I'm like, that's the last thing I want to do is be on Instagram all day. I would like to segue eventually and maybe to more of a speaking or writing a book. Who knows what that looks like? But I know that I'm going to transform over the next 10 years. And I think it's important for anybody to have some form of a personal brand because that's what's always going to be with you.
Okay, so currently, as it stands, before our big exclusive drops and breaks the internet, what do you offer as services? Like, I'm assuming you said a few other things at the beginning that were also appealed to both my creative and linear brain at the same time. Mm-hmm. You talked about planning, you talked about social media, you talked about ecosystems and content strategy. I'm just like, yes, ding, 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 ding. So I'm like, okay, absolutely. What does that look like for your clients? Yeah,
so right now, the season that I'm in, I actually, over the last year, dwindled down my product line, dwindled down my service offerings. So right now, my biggest focus, I got rid of like 5 to 10 clients last year and actually came down to one. So I'm content director for your social team and I dedicate about half of my time there. So I was able to dwindle down a lot of client work into just one client. So that's a vast majority of like what I offer service wise. The other services I offer, I do some UGC content creation. I'll do brand partnerships, speaking, workshops, things like that. So in like terms of service offerings, that's pretty much it. I don't do like a ton of one-on-one stuff anymore just because of the capacity that I'm at. But the way that I help small business owners, I give away a lot of free stuff on the internet. I do a lot through my content creation, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, that kind of thing.
Girl, you're everywhere.
I am. I try to be. And definitely I'm trying to even do more. Again, I'm a little crazy here. But then what this has looked like in a digital product offering, I have one core course, which doors are closed right now. It's called the Content System. And that's where I teach small business owners how to actually create a content strategy and a system to help them create content. That's where those ecosystems come into play. And then what this looks like next year, once I have the Amber Figlow brand just like completely out there, I'm going to dive more into doing live workshops. I have some Airtable templates coming out, very small, affordable products, because I want to not have this huge barrier to entry when it comes to organizing your content strategy. So I'll have a lot of that stuff coming out next year, which I'm excited about.
So you're like a Airtable type person, a later type person.
Yep.
Like social media management has kind of taken on a life of its own, especially with I guess the younger crowd. It's a good business or easy enough business to start on their own. And that it can become very daunting and become very complex. We've done social media marketing for ourselves, and we've done it where we've gone like really hard for a whole year, and then you realize it's not very sustainable. And you're like, oh, and I'm sure if Amanda was here, she'd be like nodding her head. She's our content manager, so she'd be like, yeah,
it's a lot.
Nobody can write this much,
not
on a consistent basis, and also it'd be good. And then we've also like pared it down, and we're still seeing growth on the platforms that we care most about. So I would always tell people, like, when you're thinking about social media content and strategizing for that content, you don't always have to think of ways to make it like the most amount of content and spam everyone. You need to be more conscious about how you are strategizing your key messages and targeting that through maybe like hero content. Do you find that to be the same?
Yeah, my big focus is hero content. That's literally the base of my strategy. So I do one YouTube video a week, and literally everything stems from that. It goes out as a newsletter. I'll take clips of it and put it up as videos on TikTok, on Instagram. It's the base for all my captions. Like it really is the true way that I approach content. I know it doesn't work like that for everybody to do this big long form piece. For you, it's probably your podcast. But either way, I am a big fan of any form of content repurposing. And it's going to look different for different business owners. And I don't think there's a one size fits all approach, but yes, I love approaching content in that aspect is let's repurpose. Let's always use our messaging over and over and over again. I promise you people won't get sick of it. And it also makes it easier on you.
Right. And like now you have so many more tools. Like you mentioned Airtable, which is so powerful.
It is.
Even like with like ChatGPT and AI, there are so many ways that you can help leverage your inputs to get proper outputs so that you don't have to do all the legwork yourself. And that's probably something that we were doing a lot of work doing is, having people help us do research, find these key messaging points, and I know Amanda was doing lots of research specifically because that takes tons and tons of work to produce. At the time, a year ago today, we were probably producing 4 blogs a month, each around 800 words. It's a lot of work to research these things and to produce proper content and then have it all be SEO specific and match on our website and all that kind of stuff. So it becomes really daunting. Have you used like ChatGPT or like some of these new tools that they have now that are really helping streamline your systems? You seem like a systems person, and I really love that.
Yeah. So I have actually just started playing around in the world of AI because it's one of those things that's again, just like social media marketing is its whole job. I feel like AI can be a job all on its own. But I'm trying to find ways to use it. So yes, I actually use a tool called Descript to edit my YouTube videos, and it edits them like a Word document. So it uses AI to transcribe my entire YouTube video. I take that transcription, I throw it into ChatGPT, and I give it all kinds of different prompts to help me repurpose that content. So I'm like, hey, taking this video script, can you help me draft a newsletter to my email or to send out as an email, things like that. So yes, I'm starting to plug in AI along the way to help make this repurposing process a lot easier on me and my content manager. And then there's some other really cool tools out there that I'm starting to play with. There's one, I think it's called Munch, where I can literally take my whole YouTube video. This is a process that we were doing manually inside of Descript. I would pull certain clips out of the YouTube video. I'm like, this would be good on Instagram. This would be good on TikTok. This might be good as a story. But now you can literally drop the entire video inside Munch and it does it for you. It pulls those clips for you and it can pull like 10 to 12 clips and it is wild. And it uses AI technology to not only clip them properly, if there's a podcast like this, it splits it properly so that you can see both people's faces. It adds subtitles, like all these cool things. So again, I'm trying to find new ways to leverage AI to make it way easier to produce way more content.
Yeah, so I was on a TikTok bender. We had a video that did a lot better than average for us. And so I happened to be scrolling on my business feed and not my personal feed. And this video came up, and on my business feed is lots of like marketing and social media type of content. So the video, I sent it to Amanda, our producer, and it was like, hey, this is exactly, I think, what happened, because I went and I saw that we had the search bar filled in at the top of TikTok where it was like, business marketing. I'm like, oh, that's why it exploded in like 15 minutes, not like less than 15 minutes. It kind of just took off, is because it had some proper SEO keywords that somehow the algorithm picked up on. So as I'm doing all of this, I'm scrolling through, I send that video over to her. The next video I watch is about the same type of software called like Vizard or something like that.
Yep, there's a lot right now. Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot of them. And I went home and I punched in like one of our best YouTube videos, and I just put in like one of the videos in there to see what it does, and it gave me 10 clips within like 5 minutes of it processing the whole video. And this was like a 25-minute video, and it just chomped it down. It formatted it for me. It picked the right title or question for it. It was just, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, okay, this can change how I do content. Because obviously, I was mentioning before, I'm pretty good at long form content, but doing this quick, authentic, organic, all those keywords, short form videos, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot more showing up mentally than for me to have like a long form conversation with myself or with a guest on a podcast, or to write a YouTube video and talk. That's where I probably perform better. But I'm like, oh, this can make me seem like I'm showing up mentally and prepared and all these authentically and genuinely, all these different things. Oh, this is actually pretty awesome. And it's using AI and the text that you'd use to help you edit the videos as well, which is really powerful.
It's insane. And especially there are some tools out there like Munch, I think is one of them. It even scores it based on like the keywords you're using and if it has popularity on TikTok right now or on these platforms. So it's like, this one's most likely to go viral. Use this one with these hashtags and this caption. And I'm like, this is outstanding. And I'm like, I love it. And everybody always tells me like, aren't you worried it's going to take your job? I was like, absolutely not. I think I'm so happy that it's going to take out the parts of my job that I don't want to do. And then I can get back to being, the personal brand. I can have more fun on TikTok. I don't have to do the monotonous things. So I really love it. I think it's great.
So what do you do when you're talking with business owners, at least now, in terms of a content ecosystem? What does that look like? Is it more just helping them set up a scheduling basis? Is it more setting up their tech stack? Is it more kind of getting them some other pieces of like messaging and themes?
Yeah. So what it looks like is I always approach like a content system and strategy almost a little too formulaic. So for anybody that cares, I am a type A Virgo. Like I am all about organization. I am annoying. It's ridiculous. I'm that friend that I'm like, if it's not in my calendar, we're not going to happy hour. So send me a calendar invite. That's who I am. So again, it can get a little annoying. So I approach this very creative process with a very strategic formula. And what this looks like, it does really look at, I do a little bit of reverse engineering. I said, okay, what is the point of you showing up on social media? I start with goals because that's the hardest part for people.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are we showing up on TikTok? If you hate it, if it's not driving, whatever it is back to your website, like what is the overall goal? And then I reverse engineer the process and I'm like, okay, then we need to show up on Instagram X number of times. We need to show up on TikTok X number of times. A YouTube video is not for everybody. A podcast is not for everybody, but they think these are things that they need. And I'm like, just because somebody on Instagram told them they needed it. So
Yes.
I approach it a little bit differently. And I'm like, let's reverse engineer the process of what's the end goal and how are we going to get you there? And then, yes, what that looks like, a posting strategy, a schedule. I approach content in a couple of different ways. And I'm like, do you prefer batching? Are you more of an intuitive creator? There's so many little things that I walk them through, mainly in my course, that it's like, okay, we're going to create and craft something that is unique to you, that maybe you repurpose your Instagram videos over on TikTok, or maybe it looks like taking your tweets and screenshotting them and putting them on Facebook, like whatever this looks like, and it's unique to you. I don't do a one size fits all approach kind of thing.
Yep. That's really good. And I think that's the part that I was trying to get you to say, where people... It's like doing a little song and dance when you have a podcast. It's like, I know where I want to go for the next part. I got to get her there. She's going to get there. Don't worry, guys. I got you. For all of the people that are listening, I know what you guys want to hear. So, yeah, having that ecosystem that's how you could use AI to leverage your time, because this is the part that people don't understand. They think that social media marketing or agency work or marketing in general is almost like a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's kind of the opposite. It's like, actually, no, it's not. You're going to work really hard. The whole ecosystem or environment that you're in is going to change multiple times, probably per year, or definitely multiple times in your lifetime or career path. So you have to constantly be learning, constantly be testing, constantly analyze what you've done to see if it's still even worth it. Remember when everyone was talking about like showing up on IG for like an hour before you post something, or how you post carousels, or how all these things, like we've gone through so many iterations of what is the best thing to do. Now I'm hearing so many people popping off on LinkedIn, on TikTok, because the reach is so much better. The search is so much better. You can become a thought leader on these platforms. And we're seeing even again how the iPad babies are growing up now, and they don't care about how many followers you have. They just want to know how niche you are and how good the content is. So as me being somebody who's an older millennial, we just constantly have to be willing to sacrifice and to learn and be a student. And I think that's what's going to separate the posers, the fakers, the people that would just want this for the glam of the lifestyle, and the people who are genuinely curious. I think to be a marketer in this world that we live in now, you have to be a student. You have to be a practitioner and a student. I'm willing to experiment and try things, but also analyze and get some feedback. And I also want to be learning new things that are happening. How are you finding success? How are you getting these results? Okay, how does that work in my industry, in my niche? How can I help my customers? If you can start to think about what your customers need and actually are trying to do with their marketing approach, and if you stay curious enough about their business and about what's happening in this world of marketing, you're going to be fine. But if you're looking to post that you're on vacation in Florida, Florida or you're on the beach somewhere and I'm a marketer and I have a course, you can buy it now. I can't tell you what I do, but the course will tell you everything.
Yep, that happens all the time. Happens all the time. And it makes me chuckle, but then I can see how it's aggravating to a lot of people. So I'm like, I get it.
I call that marketing bros, and it's not specific to male or female, but there are definite marketing bros. Go ahead.
100%. And I love what you said there about like, we always are learning. And this is one thing that I've heard time and time again, just in my career, is that everybody's like, have you heard this where it's like, once you hit 10,000 hours of working on something, you've technically mastered it. And I'm like, we as marketers, we can get 10,000 hours, but by the time those 10,000 hours are over, things have changed so drastically. I'm like, we will never be a quote unquote master of our craft because things are always changing. And like, we always have to consistently be learning. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. Like I went to school and I did 10,000 hours on Quark Express. Yeah. And you know what? No one uses Quark Express. No. Everyone uses Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign. Yep. And even those softwares, there's other things that is just completely, not obsolete, but completely new that people, listen, the amount of people I see do full on, video work on CapCut. I just started teaching at a local college here, animation and VFX on the side because I'm a crazy person. And
I do the same stuff. I get it. And
someone submitted one of their assignments with the CapCut banner still at the end where it says CapCut little animation. I'm like, no, you can't use CapCut.
Nope.
This is a course on After Effects, specifically After Effects.
That's hilarious.
And it's in portrait. What are you doing?
That's hilarious. Listen, because I'm telling you that some of those CapCut templates and animations are real crafty and I love them, but that's hilarious.
And I'm the person who's like begrudgingly, like, I hate how good it is. I'm like, you know how hard I had to work to learn how to do any of this stuff, and y'all are out here just that especially that one where the cat's in the car, me 35 minutes late to work.
Oh my God, I love that one. That one comes up on my feed. That one, oh God, I cackle every time. It doesn't matter what the meme is. It's just so good. I love that one. Yep.
We have a few minutes here that I still want to, I'm learning so much from you already, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. Yeah. But I want to dive into the business side of things, the business architecture side of things, like how, because now you're saying that the whole business is shifting.
Yeah.
And so currently, what does your team look like, and what does that look like for team management in the future as a personal brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me right now, I come from the world of, again, I was running a social agency. At one point, I think I had 10 people working for me. Yeah. And I thought that was the dream. And I quickly realized it wasn't for me personally. I know it works for some people. So I dwindled down. And right now I just have myself and I, and then one person on my team, a part-time content manager. And then from there, if I need anything else, I'll do a lot of like subcontracting work. So I hired a designer recently just to do my rebrand, but again, on a per project basis. So that's the way that I've loved using a team, supporting other creatives in my industry based on like my values and things like that. I'm like, I'll hire the right person for the right role for the time being, which I've loved. And I think everybody that's in my industry is kind of doing their own thing anyways. And I'm like, I don't want to rip that away from you. And, you still go enjoy doing what you're doing. And then I'll just loop you in when I need you kind of thing. So that's what it looks like from a team perspective. Mm-hmm. And then business wise, I've really been focusing this year. Again, I have that one client that I serve day in, day out. And then from there, it's like I get to play around with like my digital products, my offerings. Again, I love doing speaking and workshops, and I'm much pickier about my brand collaborations now. Last year, it was a big source of income for me. And I said this year, I'm not doing that. So I've been very, very picky about, just after having a couple of really bad, partnerships, I was like, I'm not doing this again. And you have to learn that the hard way. So now it is just a smaller portion of my business income, and I'm a little bit more selective with it.
Not everybody is a type A Virgo like you are.
No. I know. So listen, and I have learned that the hard way, and I have learned to screen for that in the beginning, because I'm like, if this process is not going to be seamless, I don't want to be a part of it, that kind of thing. So I'm like, no thanks, I'll pass.
I tell people all the time, I can smell when you're making it up as you go.
Oh, absolutely. I can too. And don't get me wrong, I love a little hack. I love, because as a small business owner, I got to do some things sometimes, and I'm figuring it out along the way. But there are other times I'm like, and listen, this is a very bad stereotype, but it's always the client who pays you the least that expects the most kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't like to use money as a deterrent, but sometimes I'm like, if you got to fight with them on the budget for certain things with brand partnerships, I'm like, I don't think this is going to be worth my time and energy kind of thing. So it's been an interesting roller coaster.
And are you now planning, I don't see you necessarily trying to just do influencer type things. Are you planning on doing more like UGC things? Like, here's how I use it, here's how it can help you type of placements? Yeah,
so I did a lot of UGC last year, really experimented with it. I thought it was super fun. The way that I approach UGC now, last year I was doing a lot of one-off videos for a couple $100. And it was fun. Again, I learned a lot. I realized again that cost effectiveness isn't there. So when I approach a UGC style partnership, I expect a bundle or a package. I'm not just going to come in for one video for one ad. If I want to be related to your brand, if you're going to use my face and my namesake, I need to be consistent with your brand. I need to show up a couple of different times. And again, to make it kind of worth it for me, I need you to sign up for a package of videos and not just one video. But what I've seen a lot lately is it starts out as a paid partnership. So for instance, I just did one with Adobe Express, and I did one where I posted on my feed, posted on TikTok, did a carousel, but I gave them certain UGC rights, like they can use it in ads. And I did an upsell there. So that's what I found a little bit more cost effective for both me and the brand. And everybody's happy at the end of the day. So I'm approaching it a little bit differently this year.
Which is really good for you. I think people feel that they have to follow a template. It's kind of the wild, wild west from what I hear. I'm not an influencer by any stretch of the imagination. And I know it is crazy. It's a whole other animal, right? Like people are really all scrambling to sell you what the right script is, what the right price range you should be at, how to do your press packages and all these different things. There are even templates now for your price sheets in Canva that you can just like. It's a whole life of its own. And this is another thing that I can't help but warn people that are currently in this type of role of social media manager for a big company. I know just in my relationship circles, 2 or 3 other people who have brand deals with Adobe and Adobe Express or Adobe Creative Cloud. And you see a big company like this are willing to spend thousands of dollars to find individual people to help them promote their product or talk about their product who are more knowledgeable, and they're probably getting more bang for their buck. So having somebody in-house trying to do social media marketing instead of maybe procurement of influencers and brand partnerships is way more valuable for them to be on the brand partnership side than for them to be on the internal side, trying to leverage, the internal mechanisms of posting and producing content that way. They're never going to be as authentic as what you could do in an ad. And what you can show them.
Exactly. And we come with, and from my perspective, when it came to like even my Adobe partnership or any partnership that I approach it differently than they would internally. And I'm like, that's another criteria for me is I need to have creative freedom now. Yes. You can give me some loose guidelines, but I am not reading a script the way that you wrote it. I can't do it. I learned my lesson there because I'm like, it's not going to perform. And I warned them. I was like, listen, if you give me the paycheck and it doesn't perform, that's not my fault. That kind of thing. But yeah,
every time I use Adobe Express, it's changed my life. Exactly. I want you to sign up right now.
I'm like, I'm not doing that. And they were one of the companies I was so happy to work with them. They're like, yeah, do whatever you want. I was like, oh, perfect. I need more of these. But in the way that I approach it, again, I kind of told you, already I'm a type A Virgo. I care more about the organization, the little things that people might not pick up on. I've done this with Later and Canva and Planoly. I'm finding those niche little things and showing people the structure behind it. Whereas, let's say I've seen Adobe Express, they work with other like graphic designers or someone like you that does After Effects, and they approach it in a more creative way, in a more tutorial based way, or like, here's my cool art. And I'm like, look at what this cool little button does, So it's like, I approach it completely differently than what an internal team does. And yeah, when they tap into these different personalities, different, again, personal brands, that they're going to get a different output, which I think is really cool.
So I don't want to make you spill all the beans or for you to, preemptively share the secret sauce. But like, now that you're in a personal brand mindset and you're transitioning into that, what does like your top of funnel, middle, bottom funnel look like? What is that? Is it going to change much, or is it going to be just the I guess the overarching presentation model?
Yeah, no, nothing's really going to change for me. I've shifted a couple of things when it comes to marketing my business, and that funnel. YouTube is still going to be, YouTube and TikTok are top of funnel for me, and then it kind of funnels down into like Instagram and email and things like that. And so the funnel of my marketing isn't going to change overall. What is going to change a little bit, I recently switched like my course to a closed cart system. So before it was like evergreen and always open. So my funnels there, when it comes to email and like how I get people in there, that's going to change a little bit. Other than that, the only biggest change, and this is so hard for me, I am going to focus more on doing stories like on Instagram and things like that. Like, I suck at Instagram stories. Listen, I have been in this industry for years. I still can't get behind doing stories consistently. I suck at it so bad. And I know the power of it, especially from a personal branding perspective. So that's the only thing that's drastically going to change. I'm really going to have to be hard on myself with that one, because I know it's important kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. It's a topic of discussion with our marketing team constantly.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm failing them every time we have our check-ins. And
Same.
They're like, yeah.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And especially, coming from the millennial generation, I'm like mid-millennial. It's one of those things that is so hard for me to consistently get to. I know the importance. I understand why Gen Z loves it and why people love consuming it, but I cannot get behind creating it. I'm such a batch content creator. So the idea of getting on stories every day, all day long, I'm like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming to me. So I need to be better about it though.
Yes. And are you still doing coaching? Is that being dwindled down? Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah. So that's kind of been dwindled out just because of a time capacity thing. I'm going to play around next year with maybe some group coaching in the form of workshops or like a workshop series. But for me, approaching coaching, that kind of rhymes a little. It's difficult, especially when you've scaled your business. And it's just something that I want to give people the foundation and the formula and let them experiment and run with it. They don't always need me to be there. I'm more of that foundational piece, and I'd like to pass you off to somebody else afterwards kind of thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's really, that's actually really helpful, because people need somebody who has like your personality that can also show them and say, hey, this is going to really transform your business, or at least give you a leg up, so you don't have to spend so much time researching and going through all the same mistakes that I went through as well. Exactly. What are you doing to avoid burnout? Because you seem like you're a busy person. I feel like we have similar personalities.
Yes, I'm a very busy person. And just to give for anybody listening that does not follow me, I actually have ADHD. So burnout is inevitable for me. And it is something that I have tried to figure out how to manage over the last couple of years, especially as I've gotten busier, as I've scaled. So for me, when it comes to burnout, I can see myself on the edge of it. And listen, a good old bubble bath or a pedicure is not going to do it for me. I'm like, that's just not it. What I have to do is I actually have to, when I feel myself on that edge of burnout, I have to evaluate what's important and what's not. And either I need to dedicate time, money, or energy towards eliminating things or adding in things. Like, I really have to evaluate what's going on. So just to give you a prime example, I would say about 3 months ago, I was on the edge of burnout and I was doing all these things. And I went with my content manager. I was like, okay, what can we eliminate in this process? What are we doing? So what it looked like is at one point, I love Airtable. We had certain things in Airtable, certain things in Google Drive. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to upgrade Airtable. Let's get it all in Airtable. Like, let's eliminate a software. Then we looked at analytics. We saw Twitter has not performed well for me for the past 6 months. I'm like, why are we doing it? I was like, so we eliminated Twitter entirely. Well, now it's called X or something like that. So it's those things. Like, I really have to get real granular and acknowledge where the burnout's coming from and figure out ways to fix it before it gets worse. So that's kind of
we
what we're
love carrying water. We just love
Yes.
carrying big buckets of water with us wherever we go. I love it. It's my water. We even do it in like a metaphysical way as well.
Yep.
You know, the girlies that have like the ginormous water jugs that
I
they
love
drink.
it. Yep. I'm like, I wish I could be that person.
I'm just like, no, keep it simple, okay?
Yes.
Keep it super simple. And this is something I struggle with as well. I love something new and I love to build.
Yep.
And that produces multiple 85 to 95% completed things that are not fully completed. And then, there's a new thing I can build is from 0. The 0 to 10 is the most fun part.
It is.
10,
I do that all the
10
time.
to 80 sucks.
Yep. Oh, I do it all the time. I have some half-finished like products. They're like, just put it out there. I'm like, no, it's not ready yet. Like, I can't do it, kind of thing. So I get it. I totally do.
What about for creativity? How do you protect that, or how do you generate more of your creativity so that you're kind of able to think sharp and stay curious?
Yeah. So for me, that's honestly where a lot of my burnout leads me to, is like, I don't feel creative anymore. So what I do is, when I'm in those moods or mindset or whatever you want to call it, I rely heavily on when I was creative and I repurpose that content. So that's what it looks like from here's a tangible thing that you can do. I go back, I repurpose. I'm like, okay, how can I revamp this? How can I revamp that? I lean into those moments when I was creative when it comes to production. But then it's like, okay, how do I get out of this mindset? It sounds so weird because I hate it so much. I hate exercise. I'm not an exercise kind of person. I'm not an outdoorsy kind of girl, but there is something to be said about like getting outside and going for a walk without anything. Because I'm the person, I'm like, I got to have music. I got to have a podcast. I'm like, no, just go outside and walk for an hour with your own thoughts. And I know that sounds so woo-woo and so weird, but I'm like, it is one of the things that will snap me out of it. And it gets my mind going again. So just leaning into some more of those, like moving your body. I got one of those little rocking chairs. I'm like, that you sit on at the desk. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
a little bit of movement can kind of help a little, because I just got to move my body, get out some of that stagnant energy. So that's kind of what I do and lean into.
That's really, really good. Like, I'm a big person of going for walks and getting at least a little bit of sunlight, you know what I mean? Like on your face, and be like, oh, right. Because, sometimes you get lost in the sauce and you're like, you leave the house and it's dark, you come home and it's dark and you've been inside all day, and it's like your body is like confused. When is it daytime? When is it nighttime? When is it supposed to be happening? Or
it's that whole, have you heard that they coined the term like, go touch grass? I'm like, literally go touch some grass. Like, for real, go outside and touch some grass. It'll do you wonders.
I tell my kids this all the time. I'm like, go touch grass. Like, what are we supposed to do? Because they only get like 30 or 40 minutes of TV during the school year per day.
Go touch grass.
I'm that parent. And they're like,
no,
there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do around here. I'm like, go outside. Go touch grass.
I'm telling you, and especially as a kid, I remember I used to love going outside too. So I'm like, I just need to go back to that. Just go back to that, run around the neighborhood, whatever.
I tell them all the time, I'm like, this is the best part of your life.
Yeah, enjoy
One day
it.
You're going to be a grown-up and you're going to have bills.
Yep, absolutely. You're like,
you know what I'm saying?
Go touch the grass now, because that grass gets real expensive later on. So go outside.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm also like a really big fan of business community, like finding other people who are in like the same boat that I am, to kind of help talk through processes, someone like yourself or somebody, who I'm like, oh, they get where I'm coming from. They're in that agency or marketing lifestyle, and they understand this is the challenges that we are facing, and here are maybe the potential solutions. This is how I found out, so many people are talking about, even ourselves, about personal brand, and how do we remove all of this stiffness and structure and this idea that we needed to be really professional and build this really structured thing, and kind of make it a little bit more organic and more thoughtful towards our clients and for our users, people that would be watching and listening to our content. So that's something that's also really powerful as well. So last question here. I know we've been talking now for over 40 minutes.
Yes.
Um,
I can keep
I'm sure
going.
you.
I,
I,
I'm always that kind
I'm
of person.
I'm very impressed that you have not had anything to drink for the amount of words that you have said.
Yes,
Uh,
I chugged some water beforehand. Don't worry. I have it sitting right next to me.
I'm a 2 beverage person, like
Yep.
always.
Yep.
I need a glass of water and I need my coffee.
Yes.
And I need to be drinking continually at all times. I
I
also
was like,
have a mint package opened up right here
I
just in
love it.
case
Yeah.
my mouth got dry because I talk so much on podcasts and doing YouTube videos. My mouth gets dry.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a 3-drink person. There's one to hydrate, one to caffeinate, and one that's fun. That's what I always have.
Fun.
Yep. One that's fun.
That's so bougie. I have 3 drinks with me at all times.
Listen, no, it's basic because most of the time it's a Starbucks drink. So that's normally what it
The
is.
dragon fruit refresher.
I'm a sucker for those. Those are so good.
Okay, here's the question. It is also basic,
Yep.
but I think it does help listeners who are early in their journey leapfrog over common mindset hurdles. And the question is what is something you wish you knew when you first started that you know now?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. So for me, I think the way that you approach social media needs to change, especially when you first start. And things that I have lost along the way is like the value of experimentation. And so when you get started with social media, you think you need to do certain things because so-and-so is doing it, rather than approaching it from a mindset of, I need to just get out here, see what I like, see what I enjoy, and see what other people resonate with, and try and blend those things together by experimenting with different content types. Just, like, let's say you don't love showing up on video, somebody like you're like, I don't want to sit down and do short form video. Okay, like you said, lean into those longer form pieces and pull things from it, pull things that you've said. For me, I hate Instagram stories, but I love showing up on reels, and I love I'm like, Amber, just pull clips from that and just put it up on stories, so leaning into experimenting with what you like, what your strengths are, rather than trying to follow what everybody else is doing. And I know that sounds a little like, whatever, okay, sounds great, but I'm so serious. That is the value in that experimentation and doing what you like is so valuable in the long run.
Yeah, people often think like that type of advice is cliche, but people always forget that it's cliche because it's true.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
for a reason. Absolutely.
That's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose is that it's a truth. That's why it's a cliche.
You might not want to hear it, and you might be sick of hearing it, but it doesn't mean it's not true. So
right.
Yep.
This is the portion where we would normally ask if you have anything to plug, but I don't know if you got anything to plug. You're in transition right now.
I am in transition. I would say, right now, depending upon whenever this podcast comes out, you guys can just follow me, A Creative Co, or maybe the handle will be switched by now, Amber Figlow. Find me. I know I was going to say depends on when this drops. We'll see.
Wow.
But yeah, so just follow me on all the things. I am dropping some new freebies, some new products. But the one thing I always tell people is hit me up on Instagram. I'm always available in the DMs. That's my favorite place to chat with people. I'll point you to resources that, wherever I can help you. If it can't be me and it can be somebody else, I'd love to direct you there. So yeah, just feel free to reach out to me on Instagram.
Thanks so much for being with us, Amber. We'll talk soon. All right, guys. Peace out.